Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
Schools that persist in explicit unlawful discrimination under the guise of equity will not only have their endowments taxed.
The Trump administration has said it is freezing more than $2 billion in federal funds for Harvard University, hours after the college rejected a list of demands from the White House. The White House sent a list to Harvard last week, which it said were designated to fight anti-Semitism on campus. They included changes to hiring, admissions, and teaching. Since Donald Trump was re-elected, his government has tried to reshape elite universities by threatening to withhold federal funds, mostly spent on research. Harvard became the first major U.S. university to reject the administration's demands on Monday, accusing the White House of trying to control its community.
This is a president who, when he was campaigning for office, said that he didn't like what was taught at America's universities and that he was going to bankrupt them unless they started teaching something different. We can see this when we see the head of the task force that's responsible for these investigations saying that this is about ideological viewpoint balancing at these universities. We can see it when we see the vice president of the United States say that universities and their professors are the enemy. This is not about anti-Semitism. This is about an effort to try to break the backs of American universities until they start saying what the administration wants to hear. Because the administration knows that universities are a central component of a free and open constitutional democracy. The Trump administration's demand letter that was made public today and sent to Harvard on Friday asks for things that have nothing to do with anti-Semitism. It requires us to try to change who is hired, what we teach in our classrooms, what we say in our research. It says that it is trying to create ideological rebalancing.
Donald Trump has blamed Volodymyr Zelensky for starting the war with Russia a day after a massive Russian attack killed 35 people and injured 117 others in Ukraine. The US president said the Ukrainian leader shared the blame with Russian President Vladimir Putin for millions of people dead in the Ukraine war. Trump's comments come after widespread outrage over Russia's attack on the Ukrainian city of Sumy on Sunday, which was the deadliest Russian attack on civilians this year. Vehicles have been set alight outside several French prisons, and one jail was hit by gunfire from an automatic weapon in a wave of overnight attacks. Justice Minister Gérald Darmanin said the jails had faced intimidation attempts and linked the attacks to the government's crackdown on drug trafficking. 7 establishments were targeted, according to the Parisian newspaper, in Toulon, Aix-en-Provence, Marseille, Valence, and Nîmes in southern France, and in Nanterre near Paris. France's National Anti-Terrorism Prosecutor's Office said it was investigating. US Vice President J.D. Vance says there is a good chance that a trade deal could be reached with the UK as the dust continues to settle from America's global trade shakeup. We're certainly working very hard with Keir Starmer's government, Vance said in an interview on Monday with the Unheard website. The global stock market has been rocked by turbulence since the 2nd of April, after President Donald Trump announced sweeping tariffs on nearly every country. A man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after a fatal house explosion that damaged multiple homes and cars in Nottinghamshire in the UK. Emergency services were called to John Street in Worksop on Saturday evening. David Howard was found in the rubble and declared dead at the scene. Nottinghamshire police said a 43-year-old man had been questioned and then bailed pending further investigation. More than 1,000 people have been left with respiratory problems after a sandstorm swept across Iraq's central and southern parts of the country. One official in Mutana province reported at least 700 cases of what they said was suffocation. Footage shared online showed areas cloaked in a thick orange haze, with local media reporting power cuts and the suspension of flights in a number of regions. Dust storms are common in Iraq, but some experts believe they are becoming more frequent due to climate change. And an extremely rare record sleeve assigned by all 3 members of Nirvana is expected to fetch more than £10,000 at auction. The soon-to-be global superstars were playing at a gig to just 700 people in Bristol on the 4th of November 1991. The late lead singer Kurt Cobain, drummer Dave Grohl, and bassist Chris Novoselic all autographed a cover of the band's hit album Nevermind for a local fan. After being stored for more than 30 years in a loft, the sleeve is going under the hammer at auctioneers in Wiltshire. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.